Many chase altered states of consciousness, spending fortunes on retreats and substances, hoping for a breakthrough. I've been there, and while my experience opened doors, what I'm about to share is in a league of its own. This isn't another story about plant medicine trips or chanting in an ashram, but a spontaneous, sublime awakening. Hello and welcome to my Being Source channel. I'm Bridget, and my recent spontaneous and substance-free journey into the heart of consciousness was 180 degrees different from anything I've known. So profound, it's changed my understanding of reality and revealed secrets of manifesting your dream life. If you've ever felt like there's way more to life than we know, and you're ready to discover the true power of your own awareness, to realize you are source, then buckle up, this is for you. I'll share how you can tap into the same superpower without chasing external experiences or relying on anyone else safely and effectively. Before diving into my recent awakening experience, I want to share a bit of my background, because I believe this awakening wasn't a single event, but perhaps a culmination of factors that paved the way for this profoundly enlightening and spontaneous change. While some of what I'll share might sound a little out there, it will all make sense, and you'll see how you too can benefit from my experiences. Growing up on an African farm, I was a curious and adventurous spirit. My childhood was deeply influenced by a local Zulu sangoma or shaman, whose ability to communicate with the spirit world ignited my spiritual curiosities. My truth-seeking truly began in the late 80s, though, after my brother's passing, leading me to read books that solidified my conviction that there's way more to this life than we know. A pivotal year was 2007. After a traumatic experience, a 3-month sabbatical, including walking the Camino de Santiago, led me to discover and become a practitioner of emotional freedom technique, or simply known as EFT tapping, a powerful somatic therapy. Later, battling Lyme's disease and severe depression with suicidal ideations, I felt a strange urge to write 2 self-help books, discovering many wonderful somatic self-regulation techniques in the process. This challenging period also introduced me to THC or CBD oil, then a mushroom journey nearby. Despite initial hesitancies about psychedelics, this experience revealed the loving nature of consciousness. This opened the doors to becoming an unwitting psychonaut, a sailor of the mind, exploring various plant medicines and spending 6 months in Peru working with local shaman. Interspersed with these events, I meditated, including doing 3 Vipassana 10-day silent retreat meditations and at ashrams in India. These offered profound insights, like the abilities to feel the subtle vibration or energies of my chakras. Stillness of the mind and body, disconnecting from thoughts, became vitally important. I share this to be fully authentic. My past experiences lay a foundation for exploring inner realms. However, my recent awakening occurred without any substances, and I haven't partaken in any of them for more than 3 years. So it's a complete myth that you need substances for altered states or to enter into an awakening. My extensive experiences, especially with somatic therapy, have made me feel so safe and comfortable to explore within, pushing past resistance, fears, and limiting beliefs. And this is what I will also be sharing with you in this talk today. I believe The only true prerequisites for an awakening are developing aspects like awareness, stillness, curiosity, and willingness, coupled with a deep knowing that you are always completely safe within. If ordinary people like me can have awakenings, anyone can, including you. You are source, so anything and everything is possible. So let's dive into my awakening experience. I'll start at the beginning, sharing details of how this unfolded, what I witnessed and experienced, and my realizations along the way. Lastly, how I've benefited from this experience. I'd like to recommend, only if it's safe for you to do so, to close your eyes while I go through this experience. It would be great for you to get a sense of what I experienced, as if you were with me, but here and now in this present state. So let's begin. Take a nice deep breath and close your eyes. Once I bypassed various discomforts and physical energetic blockages, most likely due to resistance and limiting beliefs, and what literally felt like a split personality within me, which I think was perhaps where the ego started to recede, I became aware of a spaciousness within me that felt so completely light. My physical body literally vaporized as my awareness expanded into what felt like eternity, infinity, maybe an out-of-body experience. As this was happening, I vividly remember saying to myself, gosh, I feel so safe in here. And with that, I became increasingly aware of this incredible sense of safety and security. It was so awesome. With that, I noticed how calm I was, a deep sense of calm. Naturally, I was so accepting of these lovely qualities, I literally felt as if I melted right into it. Then I became aware of a sense of peace. Again, I recall saying to myself, wow, this is so peaceful. And with that, the sense of peace completely enveloped me. I remember using my awareness to get a better sense of this peace, where it emanated from. Almost as if I was looking around me with my inner eyes, it felt as if the peace wasn't just in me, but it was above me, below me, around me, omnipresent. And I was curious as to how far this extended. And there was no boundary. It was infinite. Such a transcendental experience is really hard to explain. My sense of awareness wasn't physical, nor was it with my five senses. This was something completely different. Consciousness expanded way beyond my vantage point within me and my awareness as the observer. And the more I observed this, I sensed a vast, ever-expanding consciousness unfolding. It is really hard to put this into words to explain it to you fully. Anyway, while observing this expanded space, I thought, if this is how sublime peace feels like, I wonder what unconditional love is like. My innate curiosity felt so childlike, naive and innocent in that moment. And immediately this gentle wave on unconditional love enveloped me. It was so pure, so pristine and omnipotent, unlike anything I had ever experienced, and way more profound than the peace I had just experienced moments ago. Although I was completely oblivious of my physical body at this moment, I was aware that every part of my being was vibrating with unconditional love, a really tangible, visceral energy. And yet I felt so light, as if I was floating in a sea of consciousness. Truly sublime, utterly blissful, ineffable. I stayed there for what felt like ages, just floating. It was then that it occurred to me that each of these emotions I just experienced, the calm, safety, peace, and unconditional love, had entirely different states. Their qualities were subtle yet significantly different. Again, I became aware that I wasn't sensing this from a physical, bodily point of view, but from what I can only describe as extrasensory or visceral, like an intuitive perspective. Each state had its own subtle colors I've never seen in this physical realm with my own eyes. These colors were so gentle, so soft, pure and pristine, almost like candy floss. Strangely, I also became aware of a very subtle, like a taste and a fragrance, unlike anything I've ever experienced here in this physical world. And that's when I realized, so this is what Neville Goddard meant when he spoke about states of consciousness. I was able to float back and forth at will between these states. And as I did, it felt as if I was entering into or exiting an ethereal bubble or an ethereal, soft, wispy cloud. Each state was distinctly different, unique, and visceral. I've no idea how long I was there, but it was significant, certainly enough for me to get a comparative sense of what I was experiencing and witnessing. Whatever state I entered into, I noticed I was it, and it was me. There was no separation between me and the state. There's no denying that each state was powerfully omnipresent and omnipotent. And I got a very real sense then of what Neville Goddard meant by self-concept that he speaks about. Who and what you are being. It is not what we are doing, but the beingness of this was crystal clear to me in that moment. And no, this wasn't something you can fake it until you make it, as so many coaches and teachers have said to us. This is why it's so important that in order to change our circumstances, we only need to change the self, who and what we are being. In hindsight, I now realize how important it is to be really clear on what you want your new identity or self-concept to be. The clearer you are, the quicker those changes will occur. Being distinctly aware of the infinite vastness of consciousness. How I know that, I've no idea, but it felt, and I knew that it was vast, and yet it felt paradoxically like nothing, no form, no substance, yet everything at the same time. That's when I became acutely aware of the duality of everything and nothing coexisting, what is known as the Alpha and the Omega, or the beginning and the end. These seeming contradictions within consciousness felt pretty strange. Within this vast, infinite expansion, I noticed I was smaller than a pinprick. Perhaps this is what some refer to as the 0 point. Contraction and expansion was one and the same. It's such a crazy paradox, but I was acutely aware of these subtle differences. The realm of consciousness is infinitely more than I could ever have thought. Within consciousness, there is no time, there is no here or there, no separation. Wherever you place your awareness, it just is, instantly. I was aware of mundane things, yet just as aware of extraordinary things at the same time. As if duality as we know it here in this 3D coexists. It was no longer hot versus cold or electric versus magnetic, but one unique entity, if that makes any sense. Exploring consciousness is truly extraordinary. It completely defies our logical 3D senses. For me, this was so exciting for us to know, particularly from the perspective of manifesting and embodying I am source, or living as source, or being source. Anyway, at some point, I felt like I was somehow being guided or shown. This is how and why everything already exists. Literally a Rolodex of ideas being spun to show me infinite possibilities. It's already all available to us right here, right now. Everything and more than we desire. The proverbial house of many mansions, to quote Neville Goddard or the Bible. Seeing and knowing this now from a manifestation point of view is so exciting because it immediately dissolves so many preconceptions, limiting beliefs, transcends separation, the illusions of time, etc. The real implications of truly embodying source is profound. Another aspect that I was so aware of was how alive consciousness is, the sheer magnitude of omnipotence. A living, breathing life form, but yet it has no form. Its pure consciousness is truly ineffable. The capacity of our language is quite infantile to describe the true essence of what I witnessed. Seriously, quite mind-boggling, to say the very least. I was also aware of being the observer, and yet I felt like I was being observed too. A strange paradox, almost like fractals reflecting other fractals within this consciousness. Anyway, the sense of freedom I experienced was unlike anything I've ever experienced. So truly refreshing, invigorating, and rejuvenating. Completely safe, secure, peaceful, unconditional love, with a sense of awe and wonder, and most definitely fulfillment. Words cannot describe the intensity, the magnificence, the truly sublime blissfulness of all of this. So magical. Okay, and this was funny, but so typical of my curiosity. After everything I've just witnessed in this realm of consciousness, I vividly remember and still thinking to myself, but what about abundance then? How does that fit in here? And it was as if I was being asked to clarify what abundance meant to me. Because, of course, everything already exists. It's already mine. Why do I want to know about abundance? Well, I literally wanted to burst out laughing because that was so funny. I was like, really? Oh my gosh. So I pressed on because I was curious about money. Well, of course, I'm from planet Earth and money is important to us there for survival. Was kind of like my attitude. So how does that fit in? As a man-made construct, money is a means of exchange to us. I found myself explaining or justifying in terms of 1, 2 or more digits with lots of zeros behind it. And then I was shown that 100,000 is no different from 1 million, 1 billion or 1 trillion. It's all one and the same. No difference to what we view here in the 3D as big or small money. What's more, it's all here now, readily available to us. And everyone has access to abundance at all times. Because abundance is in everything, everywhere. If only we would observe it, appreciate it, and above all, accept it. Oh my God. It really struck me. We simply need to stop our mental gymnastics and let go of all our self-imposed imprisoning beliefs and fears and resistance, none of which is real. This is why coming back to the self, to the I am, being source, is all we should be focused upon. Then I totally understood the metaphysics of how an oak seed contains the entire oak within it, or a grain of sand, a cell, an atom. Everything is a microcosm of the macrocosm and vice versa, having the entirety of the consciousness blueprint and indwelling spirit within it. No matter how small something is, it contains everything within it. And we as human beings are no different. We all contain everything within us because we are all expressions of consciousness. The mere fact that we are here in this physical body at this time means we are deeply connected to and intertwined with source consciousness in infinitely more ways than we will ever know. We are one and the same. That was so enlightening. Now I fully understood why some people call this a spiritual awakening, because this heightened awareness and mystical connection to the divine or God consciousness is truly transcendental. Lastly, here's the most profound realization and a massive takeaway that I must share. And this is also where my awakening experience seemed to recede and to end just as spontaneously as it had begun. After everything I'd witnessed, I came away with this profound understanding. The only thing separating a loved, fulfilled person from a lonely, depressed person, or a rich person from a poor person, or a healthy person from a sick person, comes down to just one thing. And that is simply where we place our awareness. That's the only difference. Because everything already coexists right here, right now. Everything is always available to us. Love, money, wealth, abundance, health, identity, everything. It is all right here surrounding us 24/7, 365. And it's not just surrounding us. It is actually who we are. We literally only need to remember and to accept this truth. So where you place your awareness, this is your choice, your free will, your decision. Consciousness is completely neutral, almost inert. It doesn't matter. It particularly doesn't care if you are rich or poor, happy or sad, sick or healthy. That is all up to you. It's only you who decides, and in doing so, that is what you become, because that is what you are being. And then that is what gets reflected back onto the 3D reality of what we call this world. It's truly that simple. Even though I have known this intellectually, experiencing this really hit home so differently. This understanding has completely changed my perspective. Literally, it's life-altering. I can't comprehend now why humanity has been so purposefully controlled and enslaved, because we are all so frigging powerful if we know the simple truth. So this is our greatest gift at this time, and we can completely break free from this by simply embodying being source and stepping into our truth. And awareness is the key. Consciousness has no judgment, no criticism. It is completely neutral. We get to do, be, and have anything and everything we want to experience. Literally, the king's buffet is laid out to us for the taking. You don't have to earn it, work for it, be deserving or worthy of it. Wherever and whatever you place your awareness onto is everything. So I have an analogy to really drive this point home. Imagine for a moment being in the completely dark room, so dark that you cannot see your hand or move in case you bump into something. And you're holding a torch in your hand, and wherever you shine the spotlight is illuminated and then comes to life. Everything else remains in darkness, hidden from conscious view. Now imagine what you see illuminated by this light is something that you don't like. Would you keep shining your torchlight onto that? Or would you move the light to something else in the dark room? Of course you would. Okay, so now ask yourself, why do you keep illuminating and giving life to all those things in your life that you do not like, you do not want, you do not resonate with? Simply move the spotlight of your awareness onto something that you want, and then illuminate and give life to that. Aside from remembering to hone in your awareness, the only small obstacles that might be standing in your way at this very moment are simply your fears, limiting beliefs, and resistance, that ego, so to speak. All of which you can bypass, just like I did, which I believe is how I entered into this spontaneous awakening. And that, my dear friends, is also way easier than you think. And I'll share more about that shortly. But first, have I noticed any changes within me since this experience? Oh, absolutely 100%. And that's exactly why I want to encourage you. I'd love for you to also receive the many benefits I've received thus far. Even though it's been several weeks since I had this awakening, I'm still noticing subtle changes just occurring quietly in the background. I now feel so much more grounded, calm, relaxed, peaceful, and present. I have a much deeper inner knowing, a heightened sensitivity, trust and confidence that wasn't apparent before. A lot of my typical self-recriminations of judgment and criticism have just faded. I barely think of the past now, and very little about the future. I seem to be living so much more in this present moment. I've also noticed that my inner self-talk has significantly changed. I feel as if I have a lot more space within me, like my capacity internally has increased by several notches. I now have way more energy. I seem to be eating and sleeping a lot less. I'm able to get more work done with far less procrastination. I'm definitely seeing way more opportunities and possibilities around me and acting upon these too. Trusting my intuition more. This deeper knowing of who I am is just so lovely. I am so much more in touch with myself now, more loving, gentle, kind, and compassionate, and definitely way more accepting of myself than I was before. It's as if I've become my own best friend, a loving, loyal supporter or cheerleader. And lastly, I definitely feel more fulfilled. That, my friends, is truly priceless. This feels like I've undergone some kind of personality change, because I definitely feel quite different now than I used to. I've come away from this awakening experience with such a healthier respect for consciousness and awareness, taking greater responsibility for now how I am living my life, being source, knowing it's all about me, my awareness, and where I place it. I sincerely hope that my account that I've been able to share with you today will give you a far greater sense and understanding of consciousness too, so that you will be more curious and willing to explore and play with this a lot more. And since I know some of you are going to be curious about my manifestations, yes, that has improved too. I am manifesting things with a lot more ease and effort because I am being source, and living from that place of fulfillment within me feels so much more natural and normal. And I've strangely just lost desires for so many things. I no longer have those old feelings of needing or forcing something to change, or that inner fighting and resistance that I once had. This has been replaced with a lot more calm, acceptance, and fulfillment. And I hope that that is something that you will be able to awaken to as well. Having just shared this awakening experience, The next important point I'd like to cover is consciousness activation, a comparison between this awakening state that I've just experienced versus the psychoactive substances that I have partaken of in the past. I feel really drawn to sharing this, simply because it's so important seeing that so many people are chasing psychedelic experiences in order to have breakthroughs, throwing lots of money, etc., at retreats and shamans. And although I am grateful for those activities that once helped open me to the magnificence of the consciousness realms, and how lovingly beautiful and supported it is, there is nothing to fear, and you're certainly not dying by experiencing consciousness. And I'm not throwing any shade on any retreat or shaman. Suffice to say, this was me a few years ago. I was the one chasing one psychedelic experience after another. I spent thousands, including 6 months in Peru, intent on healing my Lyme's disease that I had at that stage, believing that I had a litany of old wounds, ancestral issues that I had to heal, to fix, to let go of, etc., in order for me to be able to feel good enough, worthy or deserving, etc. I was so caught up in that trap, the importance of self-development or self-improvement work. I literally was caught up hook, line, and sinker. And now I so see through this insidious delusion, now that I know I am source, psychoactives are no longer needed. My past psychoactive experiences were nothing compared to this awakening. Although most of those were mostly pleasant, some of them were truly awful, literally going to hell and back. The states of consciousness I've just experienced during this awakening were totally different, like 180 degrees different. I didn't need to try and interpret vague or veiled messages as received during a trip. Everything I witnessed and experienced here was profoundly crystal clear. I also had no after effects with this awakened experience compared to the typical come down and reintegration phase associated with psychoactives. I was aware that my physical body vibrated for several days after this awakening. Also, each time I've revisited this awakening, I'm able to literally access it immediately, not as a memory. It is ever present, which makes sense because we live in a sea of omnipresent consciousness right here, right now. Lastly, knowing I am source, I am no longer dependent upon anyone, any authority figures, no shaman, no teacher, guru, sacred plant, psilocybin, etc. And I've no doubt I can access consciousness at any time because I am one with it. I always have been and always will be. It just takes awareness and remembering. That's it. So simple. And you, my dear friend, also have direct access to this right here, right now. So, how did I get there and achieve this awakening? A few years ago, long before I joined the school community, I was an avid follower of Edward Art. Both he and Neville Goddard spoke a lot about the inner man, referring to the deeper spiritual and imaginative aspects of oneself that is distinct from the outer physical self. The inner man represents the source of one's thoughts, desires, and that shapes 3D reality through imagination, inner conviction, self-talk, self-concept, the use of I am, etc. Inner man is eternal, everlasting in consciousness, while the outer man, obviously, the physical body, is temporary and ultimately dies. From Edward, I learned that this inner man is the only one within our existence. I am. And as we know and say, I am source. And I've been applying this principle of there is only me within, knowing nothing exists but the self or beyond myself. And so for months, and then as a result of joining the school community, I've doubled down on my practice of being mindful and aware, catching those rampant thoughts, emotions, and bringing myself back to being aware of who I am as source. For me, awareness is a critical component of my daily practice, living as source and being source. Applying this in meditation, I go within more and more each day, knowing there's nothing but self within. And within here, within me, no time or separation exists. I am present to myself, my breath, my body, my being. Anything that shows up, i.e. those physical sensations, I observe them without judgment, stories, labels. It all has no meaning. And within no time, I usually find myself feeling calm, relaxed, and peaceful, knowing I am all that is within me. And as source, of course, I naturally get to choose whatever states I wish to occupy. This has become my regular practice, as well as developing a more acute awareness. I just love Rumi's The Mystic's quotes, which have been also a great source of inspiration to me personally. We carry inside us the wonders we seek outside of us. Another of his is, the whole universe is contained within a single human being, you. And lastly, whatever you're looking for can only be found inside you. And this really sums up what I experienced during my awakening. So now I would like to move on to the somatic and self-regulation aspects, because this is where I believe my somatic and self-regulation understanding has entered into my practice. Invariably, a physical sensation shows up whenever we try to sit in a meditation. I'm sure you are fully aware of that, how it distracts you, like an itch or an ache or a pain, a discomfort, an unease, a tightness, even feelings of like blockages, etc. Over the years, I've learned how to sit with this, to surrender and to let go, and to bypass all physical sensations. This, I believe, has been my gateway to accessing the higher levels of consciousness. Certainly, meditation helps to still the monkey mind, and knowing there's nothing to be afraid of within certainly helps. I've no doubt my 18 years experience working with EFT tapping, extensive trauma and somatic work with clients, I've become adept at allowing whatever shows up physically to be there. Simply observe it, without any fear, anxiety, stress, judgment, stories, self-inflicted punishments, etc. While most people panic at this point, thinking something is seriously wrong, I'm able to sit with it in awareness, observe it without judgment, stay curious, always curious. And soon that energy just dissipates and vaporizes. I also believe that my training in various meditation styles, including the Vipassana and some breath work, has been tremendously helpful too. Beside that, I now know I am source. I am no longer afraid of anything within me. After all, it is only me, and whatever I don't like, I know I now get to choose again. To decide, if I don't want something that is showing up, I choose something different instead. No stories, no fear has any hold over me. Before I entered into the spontaneous awakening state of consciousness, I was aware of resistance and those uncomfortable energy blockages within me. And instead of resisting, as I say, I simply observed it. And almost instantaneously it started to vaporize. It's like a kind of a fun game. And the more I did this, the quicker things shifted and cleared and then vaporized. And that's when I suddenly noticed how safe and calm I was feeling. And it all started there and evolved into this magnificent, magical awakening experience. I didn't intend on this happening. Certainly wasn't even trying to have an experience. It was completely spontaneous. And that, I think, is what is so wonderful and so magical, is it just happened naturally, easily, and effortlessly. So that, my dear friends, pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to share with you all. I do hope that this has been beneficial and that you have learned something from this, that you can perhaps re-listen to this again and again and find all the little takeaways for you that will make a significant difference in your process and in the way you are living as Source, being Source. And I do have if I could call it a gift, if you want to learn more, here's what's next. I'm going to be offering weekly school community calls covering more information about EFT tapping, the somatic and self-regulation tools that has helped me. I would like to teach you that and share that with you. And we can also cover topics such as Source self-concept, SP, financial matters, whatever kind of topics you feel you need. I'm more than happy to cover that with you and we can chat about that. These calls will be practical and interactive. And lastly, I recently launched my website, Being Source, and the YouTube channel with the same name, and I'm now offering coaching as well as bespoke manifesting tools, plus I have a few products that I am developing. And I would love for you to go and check that out, subscribe to my channel, like and make comments on the videos would be greatly appreciated. And of course, I will post all of this in the school as well. So, as we come to an end of what I had to share with you, I'm very keen to hear what you've learned today. What is your beneficial takeaway? Do you believe that you could achieve this too? Are you willing to explore these inner realms of consciousness and to play and have fun? Do you need help? Would you like bespoke tools or a meditation? Please share your questions with me and any comments with me in the comments section below. So thank you for listening. I have really enjoyed sharing this with you. It has taken me quite a while to be able to kind of integrate and understand really what has changed for me. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you on next Wednesday's call. Above all, stay curious, be adventurous, go within. Awareness is your best friend and you are Source. From me and my heart to you and yours, lots of love. Take care.